What is your reaction to Donald Trump visiting Kenosha today?
Well, Lawrence, I'd like to thank you for having us this evening. But I don't have an opinion about President Trump. My opinion is about saving my son's life, and just the health of my son matters to me. Politics right now, if you're not talking about police reform, if you're not talking about police de-escalating situations instead of escalating situations, I don't have a political move.
Tell us about.
I'm not a chess piece. Neither is my son.
Please tell us about your son and how he's doing tonight.
Lawrence, he's fighting. He's fighting, for his literal life, not figuratively. He's for his literal life, and he's doing a good job. And that's being paralyzed from the waist down right now is a terrible thing.
What do you think you would have told Donald Trump if Donald Trump had met with you? It's not a political opportunity to take a political stance for anything, because the only thing that matters to me is my son. So it would have been a bunch of dead air. Benjamin Crump, as you know, at the White House yesterday, Donald Trump said he would have been willing to meet with Jacob Blake's family, but he didn't want lawyers present. He didn't mention your name, but he was saying that he understood that you wanted to be present, and therefore, I guess in Donald Trump's way of describing this, you're the reason he didn't meet with the family.
Lawrence, Mr. Blake, Miss Julia, and their family has every right to have their legal representatives present, especially when they're meeting with any government figure that may ultimately be able to decide the accountability of the police officers who shot their son 7 times in the back in front of their 3 little boys. Especially with a Department of Justice investigation going, you absolutely will want your counsel present. Doesn't President Trump have his lawyers with him when he make statements in litigation? It just boggles our mind when Trayvon Martin was called by President Obama. His family, they had no problem with the attorneys being on the phone. When they called Michael Brown and Ferguson, no problem with the attorneys being on the phone. When Vice President Biden called George Floyd's family, no problem with the attorneys being on the phone. When Vice President Biden and Senator Kamala Harris, Lawrence, called Jacob Blake's family and spoke to them for about an hour, they had no problems with the attorneys being on the phone. It is only this president that has a problem with attorneys being on the phone when he's talking to the African-American victims of police shootings.
Mr. Blake, tell us about your conversation with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and was that helpful to you?
At that particular time, my energy was low. I was so concerned about my son. It was almost like I was talking to a family member, like an uncle or something. And when I tell you, Lawrence, they kept talking, and for 57 minutes, and he was never in a hurry. He never rushed. He shared things with me about his family, and Vice President Harris shared things about her family, and it was some real. And they comforted my daughter, and they comforted my son's mother. It was really kind of surreal. But they related to the average people so easily.